It's been almost 2 decades we've been on this journey to educate, liberate, and help you take action so you may better manage your financial future, achieve peace of mind, and accomplish your life's purpose. This podcast reveals financial tips, strategies, and insights that will help you set your goals and guide you along the way to help you achieve them. This is Managing Your Financial Future, brought to you by the advisors at Lucia Capital Group. I'm your host, Johnny Dean, with our own Rick the Professor Plum, Chief Financial Planning Officer. Welcome, one and all. Everyone's at home, Professor Plum.
Well, they're supposed to be, at least.
Well, they're supposed to be. Now you and I are not at home, but we are not in the same studio. We're being safe. Are you wearing masks around town, Professor Plum?
Well, I don't really go around town very much. I'm usually either in my house or in my office here at work because we are considered an essential service.
Yes.
Where people's retirement checks get paid out. So I'm not really out about town very much.
Well,
but no, I have not.
Okay. Well, I had resisted it, and then my mom knitted me one or something, quilted me one, and so she gave this to me. And
if mom knitted you one, you got to wear it.
Well, I do. That was number one, and number two, if you're not out in a mask, you're at least now. We're in mid-April right now when we're recording this. If you're not out with a mask, people look at you funny, kind of like you don't have any pants on. So,
well, I get that look all the time because I wear it. No, I'm kidding.
But so I've found myself actually wearing one when I'm out at the store, just for the sake of others, so they don't look at me and I don't feel like a fool. You know me, I go with the crowd. Anyway, we're back here with the podcast, Professor Plum and I doing this from separate studios, but we want to get all this stuff out. We got a lot of things to talk about, and I've got some emails, questions that I want to go through here that have sort of been piling up. We don't get as many, of course, as before because people are not paying as much attention as they used to. However, we do have questions from folks. I want to get to some of those today. My first question to you, Professor Plum, is this. You've talked to people on the phone, video conference, whatever it is. Folks have questions for you as a financial advisor. What are you hearing from folks?
Well, obviously, we're getting questions about the market and what to do with their strategy and whether they need to make changes. But one of the other things that I'm hearing from people that I speak with is that while they're at home, they've got some time on their hands. And a lot of people are taking and trying to be useful, taking this time that they have, trying to be useful, and they're going through files, those files that we've put things into that we say we'll get to, but we never get to. Well, they're getting to them, and they're asking, what should I be? And this is going back for people who receive actual statements rather than electronic statements. What should I be keeping, and how do I get organized? What's important? And it's just a matter of they're taking this time maybe that's because they're bored and they're just looking for something to do, and they're getting organized. And a lot of organization has to do with not just what statements should I keep and how do I track things, but where do I keep them for the future? What do I keep, and how do I know where things are? Because one of the biggest problems with financial planning and starting in financial planning and getting a strategy is knowing what you got and where it is. It's amazing how many times we'll ask people, so what investment accounts do you actually have? They're saying, well, I've got my 401k and I think I got some other ones, but I really don't remember.
Oh, yeah.
And then they'll come back and say, I've got this IRA I just remembered about. It's got $50,000 in it. Or I've got this, or hey, look what I just found. And normally those are good discussions because they're finding money they forgot about. But the bigger issue, and what we've seen is people are now starting to think, well, what happens if something, forget this particular illness, but other things. We're looking at, a lot of the people I talk with are retirees, and they're looking at the other side of things of what happens when I'm not here. If I'm having a hard time keeping track of this, how is my spouse who doesn't handle this going to deal with it?
Or my heirs
going to deal with this?
Yeah.
How do I get organized, not just for myself, which is important, but for down the line? Now, in the old days, we would just wait for statements to show up in the mail and say, well, dad had this account, 30 days later, the statement came in. But statements don't come in the mail in that much anymore. And I may or may not have the password to get into the person's, My kids don't have my password to get into my email.
No, that's it. They might get an email saying, "Hey, you've got this account. Great. Click here." I click there. I have no password, and I have no way. It's like having an envelope, and you can't open the envelope because there's no key to it.
But as long as, if it were that simple, we would at least know that there was an account out there with that company. But if I can't even get into the email system at all, I don't even know an email came.
No, that's true. That's the other thing. We don't know. We don't know what to look for. At least in the old days, as you said, you can go to their mailbox and just see what mail is coming. And they say, oh, this looks important to me. So they're using this time, you're saying, to at least go through some of the things that they have, maybe update things, too. You know, we've talked about this for a long, long time. Update things. Gee, this person's one of my beneficiaries. I don't even know them anymore.
I don't even like them anymore.
True. Do you find, we talked a week or two ago, I can't remember what it was, about people changing their allocation model during these so-called downtimes, and who knows how long that's going to last. But do you see people also asking about that?
Well, with the people that we talk with, we're usually going through that at least on an annual basis. Okay, these are your beneficiaries. Is that who you still want? Has anything changed?
Yeah.
But for other people who we don't speak with on an ongoing regular basis, it's a good idea to start looking. Now, a lot of IRA statements, I know our IRA statements show the beneficiaries on the last or second to last page. So it's easy to check those, but not all of them, not all IRAs are that easy to check. And if it's not an IRA, unless it says it in the title of the account, like a transfer on death, you don't know who. I mean, there is no IRA, there is no beneficiary, and so you have to figure, how do you want to do your estate planning? But checking your beneficiaries on your life insurance, checking your beneficiaries on your IRAs, and just making sure you know who's there, what's going on, where the money's going to go. And I think that's something you do in this downtime where you have time to start getting yourself organized.
What a great opportunity to do this. And it's good to know that people are doing this. They're going through maybe some of their life insurance. Do I still need this life, or do I not have enough life insurance? Maybe I need to have more life insurance. Especially as you said, there are people who say, look, I mean, what happens if I get sick with either this or something else and I'm gone in the next 2 weeks, or I get hit by a bus? Would my spouse know what to do? Would my kids know where my accounts are? And as I said, we've been talking about this for almost 2 years now, the importance of doing this. But I think this sort of, I don't know what to call it, a crisis. I guess it's a crisis.
Wakens people up.
It really does. It makes people sort of say, gee, maybe this is something. Maybe we do need to get organized. And since we've been talking about this, and I'm not going to, there's no commercial here for this, but I will tell folks who don't know, we have this sort of personal financial dashboard that we've rolled out with, I think, eMoney, a couple of technology companies, eMoney and Riskalyze, to sort of enhance what we call with our bucket strategy retirement system, this personal financial dashboard, which allows people, and you've worked with this, Professor Plum, allows people to put their information, as much or as little as they want, into this system and allow whoever they want to access it at whichever time. It's sort of like a portal where all this information can be stored.
Yeah, it's definitely it's your own personal financial website. And if you're only going to do a little, don't bother, because it doesn't really do much. Either do it or don't do it. I put in my information in my life insurance policies, my wife's life insurance, all of those things, all the accounts and things of that nature in there, because I used to more than now, but I used to travel a lot. And my wife didn't know where the account numbers heck, I couldn't remember where my life insurance policy actually was. So she knew I had life insurance, but she didn't know where it was. So if something had happened to me, she would have to start calling every insurance company in the United States to find out if I was insured through them.
Oh, sure.
Because the statements don't come in the mail, like I said earlier. But by having this website, my own personal financial dashboard, she has a sign-in, and she has her own password. And she can go in and see every account that we have, and the policy number, the company, if it's for life insurance.
Yeah.
There's an area, there's a vault where you can keep copies of tax returns. You can keep copies of your trust and wills and things of that nature. So they're readily available. You can give the password to the person that you want to handle your estate after you're gone. Like in my case, I have an envelope with the password in it that will go to my son if something happens to my wife and I. And he has access to all of that information.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean they can access it now. It means that upon your demise or whatever, they will now be able to access that account. We talk about things like your 401ks. How many do you have? Where are they? Life insurance. Where is my life insurance located? As you said, which bank accounts do I have? I mean, some people don't. They forget. The online vault that we talked about. You can put things like 1099s in there. You can put your living trust documents, estate planning documents. All that stuff is stored in this personal financial dashboard. And it just got me thinking, as you were saying, people want to get organized. This is a great way to do it. So if something happened to you, Professor Plum,
yes,
you wouldn't have to worry about it because your wife could she's already got an account there. She can just log on to it through our Lucia Capital Group website and say, oh, look, hey, there's some life in it. Wow, look at this. Hey, I didn't know about this. Hey, man, I was feeling kind of bad about Professor Plum not being here anymore, but look at this. Wow. I'm being
It's just
sarcastic.
a way to get yourself in shape financially from a organization standpoint.
Yeah, and we've seen the importance of this during this particular time. So, what I just wanted to mention that to people. You said that you brought this up here before the podcast that people are using this time to get organized, and this is a wonderful time to do this. You have the opportunity to do that. You can check it out. I would go to just luciacap.com. They can give you information about this e-money, personal financial dashboard. It's all right there. You could just email us and say, hey, where can I get more information on this? Some of it you do have to initially, put your stuff in there. You could put all of your as I said, your documents, your 1099s, past tax returns, as much of that as you want to do. That's kind of the work that you have to do at first. But once it's done, Professor Plum, it's done, and then you don't have to worry about it, perhaps ever again.
Well, you're going to want to check it and look at it because your accounts change and things. And it has other tools besides just keeping track. You can look at your investment accounts. There's some allocation tools. You can't change anything through the website, but you can look and see how things are allocated, how things are put together. And so it's a nice little way to keep track of things. There's some minor planning tools and things of that nature, forecasting. But it's just a way to look at things. And it's updated if you have online access to these accounts. It's updated daily, so you see your accounts. And some people forget about a credit card that they may. Oh yeah, that credit card got used. Oh yeah, we owe that money. Okay, we got to build that into the budget.
Right. You can also, your advisor, if you want to let them in on some of it, so they can see at a glance some of the stuff that you have. You can give them access to certain things or all of it. It's just a lot of good stuff there. So yeah, check it out. You may want to just go to our website, Lucia Cap. We can send you some information on that if you want to just email us, or you can find a lot of that information right there at luciacap.com. All right, so that's part of getting organized. I want to also just add a section here, if we can. We don't have time to get to a lot of these, but we have had some questions come in from people over the last, month. When was the last time we were in the same studio together? I think it's been at least a month, Professor Plum.
Well, it's definitely more than a month. It's been before, obviously, the lockdown, or the
that was like probably a little over a month ago. But anyway, we do have some of these questions from people. I'll have time to get to one or two of them here. Maybe on the next episode next week, we can finish up with some of these questions as they came in. They aren't necessarily related to stuff that we've talked about recently, but some of them are good. Now, here's one here who says, and I don't have the name on this. This is just a question that came in. I have a target date fund with dates of 2020 and 2025, and it didn't protect me from the downturn. I thought it would keep my money safe. What gives? Well, Professor Plum, target date funds are an interesting thing, but they are not necessarily meant to protect you from downturns.
Well, they're meant to protect you from some of the downturn. My guess is that those two target date funds were not down as much as a pure stock market investment as a whole, but they are still balanced portfolios. They are still stock and bond portfolios with probably very little in any kind of cash account that would be exempt from going up and down with the market. So yes, they're designed to be more conservative than a 2050 fund, which would be more stock oriented. But even 2010 funds, 2010 past 10 years ago, right? Those funds were down 5 or 6%. But again, they're not designed to be 100. They're not designed to be guaranteed. They're not designed to be perfectly safe. They're designed to try to get a little bit better rate of return that you can, in cash based on how far the target date is away. But they are still stock and bond investments. And when those things go down, your portfolio will go down. And so use target date funds sparingly, depending upon what you're doing. I do not have a problem with them for the longer term aspect, especially younger people who don't want to look and pick and choose mutual funds for their 401ks when they're putting $50 a paycheck in. Use the furthest, the longest date out there you can get. And also for people who want to have a moderate portfolio that is a 5 to 10 year hold type portfolio. And then it's just a matter of how conservative or aggressive do you want to be, whether you go 2025 or 2035. But the problem is it's hard to understand. Not all 2025 funds are the same. I mean, there's lots of company issuing these types of target date funds, but they're very different. And the allocation between stocks and bonds are very different from one 2025 fund to another 2025 fund. So you really have to know what you're investing in and why. But I don't necessarily care for them for money I need now, because they do have risk.
You do have risk, as this emailer was telling us. I mean, you would think if you didn't really understand them, other than you know there's a glide path kind of that they use to get you to your target retirement date. There are people who would be led to believe that, hey, I've got a 2020 target date fund, meaning that perhaps I'm going to retire in 2020. Well, heck, I shouldn't be losing money at all, and that's just not the case.
That's not what target date funds are designed to do.
Yeah, they are designed to maybe soften some of the downturn, perhaps.
Right.
But even then,
they are not guaranteed.
No, they are not guaranteed. And if you had to ask, well, is this going to protect me from a downturn that happens later on in 2020? You'd have to say no. It's not. And also, as you said, different target date funds have different ideas of what is less volatile, and you're going to find vastly different asset allocation models within each fund.
Yep, and that's one of the problems. And so it's not a set it and forget it and never look at it and don't bother understanding it type of investment. It's like any investment. You need to know what it's doing, what to expect from it, and how it's going to work in given markets. Now, we were not expecting this big of a downturn. I don't think anybody saw this pandemic issue, but we all expected a downturn at some point. We just didn't know when it was going to be. And you would have had to say that you expect any target date fund to go down some when we have a down market. It's just the way it is. Now, as I said before, it's not like having the S&P index, because that's a pure stock market investment, and the target date funds are not pure stock market. But they're only tempered to some degree. They're not guaranteed.
I think we need to make that clear for people who understand that you are not. This is not like putting cash in your mattress or something like that. There is risk involved. Okay, I hope that helps. We do have other emails. I don't have time to get to them. We will cover these more. If you'd like to email us, you can certainly go to our website, luciacap.com. We usually just cover topics on this show, but it's nice once in a while to get questions from folks who want answers, especially in markets like these and extra volatile times like these. People want to know what their answers are. They want to get their answers. So you can email us, go to luciacap.com, and there's a link there to ask us a question. And again, if you want to know more about this e-money and getting organized, this is wonderful. Personal financial dashboard. You can also go to luciacap.com or just email us. Once again, you can email Professor Plum, even if you like, and we can send you some information on that. All right. We will get to more of your questions. Again, if you'd like to get in touch with us off the air, 800-644-1150. That's the number at Lucia Capital Group, 800-644-1150. You could talk to Professor Plum, get your strategies, get yourself organized, perhaps. 800-644-1150. Professor Plum, I thank you. We will talk to you again next week. You going to be here?
I will be here.
Great. We will talk to you then. For Professor Plum, I'm Johnny Dean. This has been Managing Your Financial Future. We'll talk to you again next week.
The information provided should not be considered specific tax, legal, or investment advice and is not specific to any individual's personal circumstances. To the extent that this material concerns tax matters, it is not intended or written to be used and cannot be used by a taxpayer for the purpose of avoiding penalties that may be imposed by law. Each taxpayer should seek independent advice from a tax professional based on his or her individual circumstances. This material was gathered from sources believed to be reliable. However, its accuracy cannot be guaranteed. Different types of investments and or investment strategies involve varying levels of risk, and there can be no assurance that any specific investment or investment strategy, including the investments purchased and or investment strategies devised by Lucia Capital Group, will be either suitable or profitable for a client's or prospective client's portfolio. Thus, investments may result in a loss of principal. Accordingly, no client or prospective client should assume that the presentation or any component thereof serves as the receipt of or a substitute for personalized advice from Lucia Capital Group or from any other investment professional. You should always seek counsel of the appropriate advisor prior to making any investment decision. All investments are subject to risk, including the loss of principal. This material was gathered from sources believed to be reliable. However, its accuracy cannot be guaranteed. These materials are provided for general information and educational purposes based upon publicly available information from sources believed to be reliable. We cannot assure the accuracy or completeness of these materials. The information in these materials may change at any time and without notice. IRA withdrawals will be taxed at ordinary income rates. Withdrawals prior to age 59 and a half may also be subject to a 10% penalty tax. Insurance product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company and are subject to their terms and conditions. Insurance products offered through Lucia Securities, LLC, California Insurance License Number 0H40817. Before investing, carefully consider a target date fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, which contains this and other information, call your financial advisor. Read the prospectus carefully before investing. Target date funds are subject to the volatility of the financial markets, including equity and fixed income investments in the U.S. and abroad, and may be subject to risks associated with investing in high yield, small cap, and commodity-related foreign securities. Principal invested is not guaranteed at any time, including at or after target dates. S&P 500 Index is an unmanaged index and includes a representative sample of large cap U.S. companies in leading industries. An investment may not be made directly in an index. The investment professionals are registered representatives with, and securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, and member FINRA SIPC. Lucia Securities, LLC was acquired by LPL Financial August 2020. The investment professionals of Lucia Securities, LLC are now affiliated with LPL Financial and are conducting business using the name Lucia Capital.